Hi everyone, I have a compelling story for you. This is a true life story, 1991, the year of the trailer.
1991, the year of the trailer. In 1991, people began to die in towns around us. I was a teenager then. At first, it seemed ordinary. A man struck by fever here, a woman falling ill there. But the numbers kept growing. Rumors followed the deaths like shadows. People whispered that witches were on a rampage, that they had packed a trailer in the spirit realm and were filling it with human bodies. The sickness moved from town to town until it reached our own. Funerals became part of daily life. It was mostly men who died. Farmers, traders, strong men who had been healthy only days before. When it came to our village, our elders from nearby communities gathered to consult the gods and seek a solution. They were told that a sacrifice must be made at a small shrine beside the road. A goat was brought and tied to a tree. We stood around in uneasy silence as the elders prepared the rites. Then an elderly woman, known for her troubled mind, passed by. She stopped, stared at the goat, and said, "That goat you are tying is human." The elders waved her away as mad. But before we even left the shrine, a cry rose from the compound of a respected healer who had been down with the strange fever. He died within the hour. People looked at one another. No one spoke, but everyone remembered what the old woman had said. Not long after, another cry came from the house of a strong farmer and wrestler. He too was gone. 2 men dead within an hour. From that day, suspicion spread faster than the sickness. It was said that witches were behind the deaths and that no one could be taken unless a relative or a close relative in the coven offered them. The grandmother of the late healer was accused and dragged away for questioning. Other women were brought before a diviner to prove their innocence. Most failed the test and were declared witches. One woman, unable to bear the shame, took her own life. The fear settled most heavily on elderly women. Their age, their isolation, their silence, these made them easy targets. Vulnerable and often voiceless, they became scapegoats for a community desperate to explain what it could not understand. The sickness killed men, but the stigma scarred women, tearing families apart and leaving wounds that lingered long after the graves were filled. Not long after, a father and his grown-up son in another family fell sick on the same day. The family consulted an oracle. The message was clear that the witches said one could be spared, the other must be taken. A well-known diviner was called to intervene. He prepared sacrifices and pleaded to the witches for the lives of both men, but what the oracle had said could not be changed. The family faced an impossible choice. They chose to let the father die so the son, still young, could survive. The father died. The son lived. Soon afterwards, the diviner summoned the elders. He said that when he entered the witches' coven to bargain for the sick, he was horrified to see his own wife, not just among the witches, but leading them. From that day, he swore never to eat her food. Though they remained under the same roof, they lived as strangers, bound by fear rather than love. Then, as quietly as it had begun, the sickness ended. No more graves were dug. Life returned to farms and markets. Months later, people from the city said it had been yellow fever. We did not argue. We had already buried too many. Even now, when I think of that year, I remember the silence that followed, the silence of a village that had stirred into terror and survived. Most of the dead were men, but it was women, especially the old and alone, who carried the weight of suspicion long after the fever was gone. 1991, year of the trailer.